A blessed morning, dear students. Welcome to another session of Valenzuela Live Mathematics 7. We are now in week 1 of quarter 3. For today's lesson, we are going to focus on the basic concepts and terms of geometry. Based on the most essential learning competencies set by the Department of Education, at the end of this session, you should be able to represent point, line, and plane using concrete and pictorial models. Illustrate subsets of a line and classify the different kinds of angles. For our first activity, let us see if you still have an idea with the basic concepts and terms in geometry. As far as I recall, this topic is also included in some of the learning competencies during your elementary days. Now, let's play 4 picks and 1 word. Your task is to guess what specific word fits with the theme of the photos presented. You can use the jumbled letters below as clues for your answer. Now, are you ready? You have 5 seconds to write your answer in our comment box below. For the first set of pictures, 5 seconds, go! Very good. The correct answer is point. Next. 5 seconds, go! All right. The correct answer is line. Next. 5 seconds, go! Great! The correct answer is plane. And for the last set of pictures, 5 seconds, go! That's really nice. Geometry is the correct answer. Now, consider the following terms, especially point, line, plane. What do you call them? All right. In geometry, the words point, line, and plane are called undefined terms. These words do not have formal definitions. However, we can still describe them. But before that, let us first define geometry. Geometry is a branch of mathematics that studies the sizes, shapes, position, angles, dimension of things, and the knowledge dealing with spatial relationship. The word geometry comes from the 2 Greek words geo and metron. Geo, which means earth, and metron, which means measurement. Geometry was extremely important to ancient societies and was used by astronomy, navigation, surveying, and building. The basic knowledge and concepts on this topic will help us appreciate better the beauty of nature and the things around us. At this point, let us dig deeper on the basic concepts and terms in geometry. Let's start with point. Point indicates a location or position in space. When we say space, it is the set of all points. Furthermore, point has no dimension or actual size. It has no length, no width, and no height or thickness. It is pictorially modeled by a dot. Point can be named by a capital letter. For example, in this figure, we can name it as point P. There are some objects around us that can represent a point, and these are the following: a sugar granule, a grain of sand, a tip of a needle, and a tip of a pushpin. Let us now proceed with a line. Line is a set of points arranged in a row extending toward two opposite directions without end. It has infinite length but no width and thickness. It is pictorially modeled by a straight mark with arrowheads on both ends. It can be named by two capital letters with a right-left arrow above or a lowercase script letter. For example, in this figure, using the points that lie on it, we can name it as line AB and line BA. This line can also be named using lowercase letter m as line M. Another example in this figure, using the points that lie on it, we can label it as line AB, line BA, line BC, line CB, line AC, and line CA. It can also be named using the lowercase letter m as line M. There are objects around us that can represent a line, and these are the following: a string, a laser, an edge of a book, and a straight path. Let us now proceed with the plane. Plane has two dimensions. It has infinite length, infinite width, and no height or thickness. It forms a flat surface extending indefinitely in all directions. It is pictorially modeled by a slanted four-sided figure. Take note of this. For any 3 points not on the same line, there is actually one plane. You can use 3 points that are not on the same line to name a plane. Plane can be named by a single capital script letter or by 3 coplanar but non-collinear points. For example, in this figure, using the single capital script letter, it can be named as plane M. And using the 3 coplanar but non-collinear points, we can name it as plane ABC. There are some objects around us that can represent a plane, and these are the following: a sheet of paper, a blackboard, a top of a table, the wall. Now, are you ready for the next activity? All right. In this activity, all you have to do is to place each object in its corresponding column. Then, press the heart reaction if the given object represents a point. Press the wow reaction if the given object represents a line. Press the like reaction if the given object represents a plane. You have 5 seconds to key in your answer in our comment box below. First object, a plywood. Let's react. Go! If your answer is like, then you are correct because a plywood represents a plane. Next object, a thread. Let's react. Go! Very good. The correct answer is wow, since a thread represents a line. Next object, a tip of a pen. Let's react. Go! If your answer is hard, then you are correct because a tip of a pen represents a point. Next object, a screen of a smartphone. Let's react. Go! Great! The correct answer is like, since a screen of a smartphone represents a plane. Next object. A corner of a box. Let's react. Go! If your answer is hard, then you are correct. Because a corner of a box represents a point. And for the last object, an intersection of sidewall and ceiling. Let's react. Go! Alright, the correct answer is wow! Since an intersection of sidewall and ceiling represents a line. Moving on, from those three undefined terms, all other terms in geometry can be defined. Here are other basic geometric terms on points, lines, and plane. First, the collinear points. Collinear points are points that lie on the same line. Otherwise, they are non-collinear. For example, in this figure, points A, B, and C are collinear since they are all lie on the same line. Points A, B, and C are non-collinear since they do not lie on the same line, specifically point D. Coplanar points. Coplanar points are points that lie in the same plane, otherwise they are non-coplanar points. In this figure, points H, D, G, and F lie in the same plane, so they are coplanar. Points H, D, I, and K do not lie on the same plane, so they are non-coplanar. Coplanar lines. Coplanar lines are lines that lie in the same plane. Otherwise, they are non-coplanar lines. In this figure, line AD intersects parallel planes M and N at points A and D. Lines EF and GH lie in the same plane N, so they are coplanar lines. Lines EF, GH, and AD do not lie in the same plane, so they are non-coplanar lines. Intersecting lines. Intersecting lines are two lines with a common point. In this figure, lines M and N intersect at point A. Concurrent lines. Concurrent lines are three or more intersecting lines that have a common point. In this figure, lines L, M, and N intersect at point A. Parallel lines. Parallel lines are coplanar lines that do not intersect. In this figure, lines M and N are parallel lines. Q lines. Q lines are straight lines that do not intersect and are on the same plane. In this figure, lines M and N are skew lines. Let us now proceed to the next activity. In this activity, all you have to do is to classify each statement as true or false in the given figure. Write yes if the given statement is true and no if it is false. You have 5 seconds to answer. First statement, line FG intersects plane M at point P. Yes or no? Go! Very good. The correct answer is yes. Next statement. Points C, B, and A are collinear. Yes or no? Go! If your answer is yes, then you are correct. Next statement. Points B, D, A, and F are coplanar. Yes or no? Go! If your answer is no, then you are correct. Next statement, lines AC and BD are intersecting lines. Yes or no? Go! If your answer is yes, then you are correct. Next statement, point C, A, and D are coplanar points. Yes or no? Go! Great! The correct answer is yes. Next statement. Points B, P, and A are collinear. Yes or no? Go! If your answer is no, then you are correct. Next statement. Line AC and line FG are parallel lines. Yes or no? Go! Alright, the correct answer is no. And for the last statement, line AC, line BD, and line FG are concurrent lines. Yes or no? Go! If your answer is yes, then you are correct. Let us now proceed with the next topic, which is the subsets of a line. There are two subsets of a line. The first one is the line segment. A line segment or segment is a part of a line consisting two distinct points called endpoints and all the points between them. Line segment can be named by two capital letters with a bar over the top. In this figure, we can name it as line segment AB or line segment A. Two segments are congruent if they have the same measure. In this figure, segment PQ is congruent to segment RS. The length of segment PQ is equal to the length of segment RS. The midpoint of a segment divides the segment into two congruent segments. In this figure, point A is the midpoint of segment PQ. Take note of this. If point A is the midpoint of segment PQ, then segment PA is congruent to segment QA. A segment bisector. A segment bisector is a segment, ray, line, or plane that intersects a segment at its midpoint. Again, point A is the midpoint of segment PQ, and line M is the segment bisector. Take note of this. If line M bisects segment PQ at point A, then segment PA is congruent to segment QA. The second subset of a line is the ray. A ray is a part of a line which begins at an endpoint, and all the points on the same side that extends endlessly in one direction. It is named with its endpoint and any other point on it, using two capital letters with one-sided arrow over the top or usually rightwards arrow above. We must always start on the endpoint. In this figure, we can name it as ray AB or ray AC. It is not correct to name it as ray BA nor ray CA. Are you ready for the next activity? All right. In this activity, all you have to do is to name each of the following highlighted geometric figures, then choose the letter that represents the correct answer below. You have 5 seconds to answer. Number 1. What must be the name of this highlighted geometric figure? Is it letter A, line BE, or is it letter B, ray BE? 5 seconds, go! Very good. The correct answer is B, ray BE. Number 2. What must be the name of this highlighted figure? Is it letter C, point D, or is it letter D, plane D? 5 seconds, go! Great! The correct answer is point D. Number 3. What must be the name of this highlighted figure? Is it letter E, plane M, or is it letter F, point M? 5 seconds, go! The correct answer is plane M. Number 4. What about this highlighted figure? What must be its name? Is it letter G, line H, or is it letter H, point H? 5 seconds, go! All right, the correct answer is line H. Number 5. What about this? What must be its name? Is it letter I, ray AD, or is it letter J, segment AD? 5 seconds, go! Great! The correct answer is J, segment AD. Let us now proceed to the last topic, the kinds of angles. Angles can be found everywhere. Buildings, establishments, satellite dishes, billboards, and many other objects forming angles. Of course, you also have clocks in your homes, right? Notice the figure formed by the two hands of the clock. There are clearly examples of angles. Moving on, let us formally define an angle. In geometry, an angle is formed by two non-collinear rays that have a common endpoint and whose measure is between 0 degree and 180 degrees. An angle is represented by that symbol. The common endpoint is the vertex of the angle, and each ray is the side of the angle. In this figure, point B is the vertex. Then ray BA and ray ABC are the sides of the angles. Next, protractor. A protractor is used to measure an angle. This is an example of protractor. As you can see, it assigns a number between 0 degree to 180 degrees to an angle. That number is called the degree of an angle. These are the steps in measuring an angle. Place the center point of the protractor on the vertex of the angle to be measured. Align the baseline of the protractor with one side of the angle. Then, read the appropriate scale. For example, in this angle, applying the following steps, we will have angle A is equal to 50 degrees. In naming an angle, we have three ways. First, by three capital letters with a vertex letter in the middle. In this figure, we can name it as angle ABC or angle CBA. Second, by the vertex, using one capital letter. This figure can also be named as angle B. Lastly, by one lowercase letter or number written in the middle of the angle. This figure can be named as angle 1. Now, in geometry, angles can be classified according to their measure. They can be acute, right, or obtuse. Acute angle measures less than 90 degrees. This is an example of an acute angle whose measure is 45 degrees. Next, right angle. Right angle measures exactly 90 degrees. This is an example of a right angle. We use this symbol to indicate right angle. Next, obtuse angle. It measures more than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. This is an example of an obtuse angle whose measure is 140 degrees. Now, let's proceed to the last activity. This activity is called Identify Me. All you have to do is to tell whether each angle is acute, right, or obtuse. Type A if it is acute, type R if it is right, and type O if it is obtuse. Let's begin. The first given. 5 seconds, go! Very good. The correct answer is obtuse. Next. 5 seconds, go! The correct answer is acute. Next. 5 seconds, go! Very good. The correct answer is right angle. Next. 5 seconds, go! Great! The correct answer is acute. Then last angle. 5 seconds, go! The correct answer is obtuse. To sum up the important points of our today's lesson, in geometry, Point, line, and plane are the undefined terms. A point has no dimension, and a dot represents a point. A line has one dimension. It is represented by a line with two arrowheads, but it extends without end. A plane has two dimensions. It is represented by a slanted four-sided figure, but it extends without end. The line segment and the ray are the two subsets of a line. A line segment or segment is a part of a line consisting of two distinct points called endpoints and all the points between them. A ray is a part of a line which begins at an endpoint and all the points on the same side that extend endlessly in one direction. Segments and rays are collinear when they lie on the same line. Lines, segments, and rays are coplanar when they lie in the same plane. In geometry, an angle is formed by two non-collinear rays that have a common endpoint and whose measure is between 0 degree and 180 degrees. A protractor is used to measure an angle. And in geometry, the three different types of angles are acute, right, and obtuse angle. Before we end, I would like to share this quote from Johannes Kepler. Geometry is the archetype of the beauty of the world. And that ends our discussion for today. This is Sir Eldrin A. Espinosa of Gente de Leon National High School. Always remember, ano man ang sitwasyon, tuloy ang edukasyon. Thank you and God bless everyone. Keep safe.